"Why do you only bring him the soft cloth when the lawyer is watching?" Lily Carter asked from the doorway, both hands wrapped around a chipped blue bowl of soup. The private sickroom went still. Vincent Moretti stopped coughing for half a breath. Celeste Romano's silk handkerchief hung above his chest, her other hand resting near a cream-colored folder on the bedside table. Mrs. Pike stepped forward to block the child, but Lily took one careful step more. "Soup is for coughs," she whispered. "That is for pretending." 3 hours earlier, the Moretti mansion had been quiet in the expensive way, the kind of quiet made by thick carpets, locked doors, and people paid not to ask questions. Rain tapped against the tall windows of the East Wing, where Vincent Moretti had spent 6 days inside a private sickroom that looked less like a place to heal and more like a chapel built for power. Dark walnut walls, brass lamps dimmed low, a crucifix above the door, a framed painting of the Madonna across from the bed, beautiful enough that no one noticed the safe hidden behind it unless they already knew where to look. Vincent lay under a gray wool blanket with his charcoal robe pulled tight around his shoulders, the old gold watch of his father on one wrist and the Moretti signet ring heavy on his hand. Every few minutes he coughed, not hard enough to panic the house, just enough to make people lower their voices, tilt their heads, and reveal what they wanted from a sick man. Celeste arrived first that morning, smelling of white roses and winter air, though she had not stepped outside. She moved softly, perfectly, like a woman aware of every camera in the hall. "My love," she murmured, folding a pale silk handkerchief into a square and placing it near Vincent's pillow. "You frightened me again last night." Vincent's eyes stayed half closed. "Did I?" "You were confused," she said. "Adrian was worried." Dr. Adrian Vale stood near the foot of the bed with a leather medical case and a face trained to look calm in rooms full of dangerous men. Behind him, Mrs. Helena Pike adjusted the water glass on the tray, then adjusted it again until the handle pointed exactly east. Vincent noticed that. He noticed everything. That was the trouble with pretending to be weak. People began to treat your silence as permission. Outside the door, Emily Carter waited with her daughter beside the service cart. Emily's white apron was worn soft at the edges, and Lily's rabbit hair clip had slipped sideways over one ear. The child held the chipped blue bowl with both hands, walking so slowly the soup barely trembled. She had helped stir it only after Emily moved the pot away from the flame. She had sprinkled the tiny bread squares herself, counting them out loud, because Mr. Vincent's throat hurt and big bites were rude to coughs. Emily whispered that they should leave the bowl with Mrs. Pike and go. Lily did not move. Through the narrow opening, she watched Celeste take the silk cloth from her purse, smooth it once, and glance toward the cream folder near the bed. Then a lawyer in a dark suit stepped into the room, and Celeste's voice changed. It became warmer, wetter, almost grieving. "Vincent," she said, touching his wrist for the first time that morning, "if you are too tired to handle certain matters, no one would blame you." The lawyer opened his folder. Dr. Vale lowered his eyes. Mrs. Pike shifted closer to the door. Lily looked up at her mother. "She did it again," she whispered. Emily did not understand. Lily pointed with her chin because her hands were full. The silk handkerchief, the lawyer, the papers, the soft voice, all together like the stickers in her little star notebook when things happened in the same order. Before Emily could stop her, Lily stepped into the sickroom with the bowl. The smell of chicken broth and parsley crossed the room, simple and warm and completely out of place among leather folders and polished lies. Celeste turned first, her smile still alive but thinner now. "Sweetheart, this is not a good time." Mrs. Pike's shoes clicked once on the floor. "Children from the kitchen wait outside." Lily froze, but she did not leave. Vincent opened his eyes a little more. He did not believe children because they were children. He believed patterns when they repeated. And at that moment, on the edge of the bedside table, beneath Celeste's folded silk handkerchief, he saw the cream-colored folder had shifted just enough to show one printed line. Temporary transfer of decision authority. The line did not stay visible for more than a second. Celeste's fingers moved softly, almost lovingly, and the silk handkerchief slid back over the folder as if it had always belonged there. Vincent's eyes did not follow her hand. They stayed on Lily. A frightened adult would have looked at the paper. A liar would have looked at Celeste. The child looked only at the handkerchief, as if the cloth itself had done something wrong. "Emily," Mrs. Pike said, her voice smooth enough to pass for manners. "Remove your daughter before Mr. Moretti becomes upset." Emily stepped forward at once, cheeks pale, one hand reaching for Lily's shoulder. "I'm sorry, sir." She didn't mean to interrupt. Lily's small fingers tightened around the bowl. The soup trembled, and one square of bread touched the chipped rim. "I didn't spill," she whispered, as if that were the part that mattered most. Celeste gave a soft laugh, the kind people used in churches and hospital rooms. "No one said you spilled, sweetheart. But grown-ups are speaking." Dr. Adrian Vale closed his medical case with a gentle click. Children often connect unrelated things. Cloth, a visitor, a folder. Feels meaningful to them. Vincent coughed once into his fist, not because he needed to, but because the room expected him to. The sound gave everyone permission to look concerned. Celeste leaned closer. Dr. Vale tilted his head. Mrs. Pike reached for the water glass. Only Lily flinched, not at the cough, at the way all three adults moved at the same time, like they had practiced which part of caring belonged to whom. Vincent let his hand fall beside the blanket, the old gold watch resting against his wrist. With his thumb, he pressed the crown twice, a motion so small no one but a Moretti man would know it meant anything. Somewhere beyond the room, his consigliere would receive the signal. "Check the papers. Check the room. Say nothing." Mrs. Pike took one step closer to Lily. "Your mother has been given enough kindness by this house. Do not teach Mr. Moretti to regret it." Emily's face changed then. Not anger. Something worse. Shame forced into silence by a paycheck. She bent down and reached for the bowl. "Come on, baby." But Lily shook her head once. "Mr. Vincent didn't eat yet." Celeste's smile thinned. "Mr. Vincent has medicine." "Soup first," Lily said. "Mommy says medicine is mean on an empty stomach." Dr. Vale looked at Vincent, not Lily. "There is no medical concern here. The child is repeating kitchen superstition." Vincent's gaze moved at last to Emily. "Is that what you teach her?" Emily swallowed. "I teach her not to waste food, sir, and not to bother people who are sick." For 1 second, the room softened around that answer. It was ordinary, poor, tired, real. Then Mrs. Pike broke it. "Then perhaps you should teach her that service has boundaries." She lifted the soup bowl from Lily's hands and placed it on the cart outside the door, just far enough that the child could see it but not reach it. Lily's lower lip moved, but she did not cry. She only watched Mrs. Pike's shoe as it shifted back into the room. The heel landed on the edge of the cream folder, the same folder Celeste had hidden. Vincent saw it. Emily saw it too, because her eyes dropped and stayed there too long. Mrs. Pike noticed Emily noticing. Her polite face hardened by a fraction. "Kitchen duty only for the rest of the week," she said. "No sickroom, no east wing, no child near this door." Celeste turned to Vincent with a wounded softness. "It's only to protect your rest, my love." Vincent breathed shallowly, letting weakness sit on his face like another blanket. "Do what Helena thinks best," he murmured. Emily lowered her head. Lily looked at him as if he had closed a door she had been brave enough to open. That look hit him harder than any accusation in the room. Mrs. Pike guided them into the hall, and for a moment life became small again. The service cart, the cooling soup, Emily's hand around Lily's, rain ticking against the window at the end of the corridor. Lily reached into the pocket of her little sweater and pulled out a loose gold star sticker, pressing it against the side of the blue bowl so carefully it wrinkled at one corner. "So he knows it's his," she whispered. Emily knelt, brushing the rabbit clip back into place. "Baby, you cannot say things like that in there." "But she does," Lily said. "The cloth, then the papers, then he coughs big." Emily went still. Behind them, the sickroom door had not fully closed. Through the narrow gap, Celeste's voice floated out, low and sweet. "We can try again tonight when the child is gone." Then came the soft slide of paper, and Mrs. Pike's heel lifted just enough for Emily to see the hidden line beneath it again. Temporary transfer of decision authority, with Vincent Moretti's name already typed below the blank signature space. Emily did not move until Mrs. Pike's heel lowered again and the sickroom door clicked shut. The sound was soft, but it felt final, like a lock sliding inside a coffin. Lily looked from her mother's pale face to the blue bowl on the service cart, where the wrinkled gold star sticker clung to the chipped ceramic. "Mommy," she whispered, "why does paper need Mr. Vincent if he is only coughing?" Emily's hand tightened around hers. "Not here." She lifted the bowl, turned the cart with a quiet squeak, and guided Lily down the east corridor toward the back stairs where the carpet ended and the floor turned cold under their shoes. For a few steps, nothing happened except ordinary house sounds. Pipes ticked inside the walls. Rain tapped the glass. Somewhere below, a dishwasher breathed steam into the kitchen. That small, normal noise almost made Emily believe she had imagined the line on the paper. The blank signature space. The way Celeste's sweetness sharpened whenever anyone mentioned Vincent's rest. Then Lily pulled her hand free and stopped on the stair landing. "I have it in my book," she said. Emily turned. "Have what?" Lily patted the front pocket of her sweater, then frowned because the little notebook was not there. Her eyes grew round. "My stars." Emily's stomach dropped. "Did you leave it in the kitchen?" Lily nodded quickly. "By the bread. I was making the tiny squares." They hurried down, not running because servants in the Moretti house did not run unless something was burning. The kitchen was warm and bright, full of copper pans, white counters, and the smell of stock simmering low. No one else was supposed to be there during the afternoon quiet hour, but Dr. Adrian Vale stood near the back pantry door with his leather case in one hand and Lily's little notebook open in the other. He looked up too fast. Not guilty. Too fast. "Mrs. Carter," he said, closing the notebook with one finger still tucked inside. "Your daughter dropped this. I was about to return it." Lily stepped behind Emily's apron but leaned around just enough to see the cover, purple with peeling stars. "That is mine." Dr. Vale smiled down at her. "Of course. You are very organized for a little girl." He handed it back, but his thumb had left a faint gray mark on the page edge. Emily took it before Lily could. "Thank you, Doctor." His eyes flicked toward the ceiling corner, where the kitchen camera watched over the service entrance, then away. "Be careful what children write down," he said lightly. "People can misunderstand drawings." He left through the pantry hall, his shoes making no sound on the rubber mat. Lily waited until he was gone before tugging the notebook open. "He folded Bunny Day," she said. Emily looked down. On one page, Lily had made her own careful system. Gold stars for soup, blue circles for the doctor, black lines for Mrs. Pike, and small rabbit stickers for Celeste because Lily did not know how to write Celeste's name yet, and the woman's white fur-trimmed slippers reminded her of rabbits. 3 rabbit stickers sat beside the same pattern. Lawyer, cloth, papers, big cough. Emily stared at it. The drawings were crooked. The spelling was half missing. But the order was clear enough to make her mouth go dry. "This was Tuesday?" she asked. Lily nodded. "And Thursday? And today? How do you know?" Lily pointed to the tiny bread squares she had drawn beside each star. "Tuesday had 4 breads. Thursday had 3 because you said we save bread. Today had 5 because I dropped one." Emily almost smiled, and that almost smile hurt. Her child had not been spying. She had been caring. She had counted food because food mattered to people who could not waste it. Upstairs, behind the walnut wall of the sickroom, Vincent Moretti listened to the kitchen audio through a secure line his consigliere had opened after the double tap on the old gold watch. He sat half upright now, the blanket still over his legs, Celeste's folder no longer on the bedside table. His face did not change when Lily described rabbits and bread. But his eyes stopped blinking when Emily whispered, "Baby, these are the exact days the lawyer came." From the hallway outside the kitchen, Dr. Vale paused near the service panel and took out his phone. The black screen lit his face for 1 second as he typed a message with one hand. "The child has a record. Remove it before tonight." Dr. Vale sent the message and slipped the phone back into his coat pocket before the screen fully went dark. In the kitchen, Lily was still holding the purple notebook against her chest, both arms wrapped around it as if it were a stuffed animal and not the first dangerous thing she had ever owned. Emily saw the doctor pass the service doorway without looking in. That was what frightened her most. Men who were only annoyed looked at you. Men who had already decided what to do did not. Upstairs, Vincent Moretti let the secure line go silent. He lay back before Celeste returned, pulled the blanket higher, and placed his father's gold watch where his thumb could reach the crown again. When Celeste entered, she carried herself like a woman walking into a chapel, gentle and grave, with the silk handkerchief already folded in her palm. Dr. Vale followed with his leather case. Mrs. Pike came last, holding a fresh glass of water, and behind her, in the hallway, 2 house guards stood near the service entrance as if a 4-year-old child had become a security concern. "No lawyers," Vincent said before anyone could speak. His voice came out low, scraped thin by the cough he had been performing for days. "No folders. No family business. I want 10 minutes of quiet." Celeste paused only long enough for the pause to be invisible. "Of course, my love." She sat beside him, smoothing the blanket at his knee. Dr. Vale checked Vincent's pulse. Mrs. Pike stood by the door with the posture of a woman guarding a museum exhibit. For a minute the room behaved. Rain moved down the windows in silver lines. The brass lamp hummed. Somewhere in the corridor, Lily's small shoes shifted on the floor, because Emily had been ordered to wait outside with the soup cart until Mr. Moretti decided if kitchen food was acceptable. Lily did not try to enter. She only held the blue bowl with the wrinkled gold star sticker turned toward the door. 3 minutes passed. Then Celeste said softly, "If the quiet helps, perhaps we should make things easier for you permanently. Only a few small signatures, Vincent. Nothing stressful." Vincent's eyes stayed half closed. "Small, temporary," she said. "Just until Adrian is satisfied you are stronger." Dr. Vale lowered his gaze to his chart, as if the word temporary had arrived from medicine instead of money. In the hallway, Mrs. Pike turned and spoke down to Emily without raising her voice. "Your daughter's notebook will need to be put away. It is not appropriate for staff children to keep records about this household." Emily's hand moved toward Lily's shoulder, but Lily shook her head once. Not rude, not defiant, just no. "It's my soup book," she whispered. "It says when he eats." Mrs. Pike's mouth tightened. "Mr. Moretti has physicians for that." Vincent opened his eyes. Let her answer. The hallway went still. Mrs. Pike stepped aside just enough for Lily to be seen, but not enough to let her belong. The child stood below the carved doorway with the chipped bowl in both hands, her rabbit hair clipped crooked, her notebook tucked under one elbow. The lawyer who had remained near the far wall cleared his throat. "For clarity, Mr. Moretti, a child's drawings cannot be treated as any kind of formal record." Vincent did not look at him. "I did not ask if it was formal. I asked if it was true." Lily looked at the carpet, then at the bowl. "Yesterday he ate too," she said, "because the big cough came when Miss Celeste said papers." Celeste gave a small, wounded laugh. "Sweetheart, yesterday he had almost the whole bowl." Vincent turned his head a fraction toward her. 6 spoonfuls, wasn't it?" Celeste touched his wrist. "Yes, 6, maybe more." Dr. Vale's pen moved. Neat, professional scratch across the chart. Vincent watched the pen, not the doctor's face. "Write that down," he murmured. "If I am remembering meals wrong, you should have it." Dr. Vale nodded with the solemnity of a man being handed exactly what he wanted. "Of course." Mrs. Pike looked relieved. Celeste's fingers softened around Vincent's wrist. In the hallway, Lily hugged the notebook tighter and said nothing, but her eyes had gone to the soup bowl. 2 tiny bread squares floated near the rim, because that was how many she had drawn on yesterday's page. Dr. Vale closed the chart believing he had captured Vincent's confusion, unaware that the key card log had already marked him outside the kitchen at the exact minute Lily showed the notebook, and that the sentence he had just written ended with one clean, fatal error. "Patient recalls 6 spoonfuls yesterday. while the child's wrinkled gold star page said 2. The sentence sat on Dr. Vale's chart like a drop of ink spreading through clean water. Patient recalls 6 spoonfuls yesterday. Vincent Moretti did not correct him. He did not look toward Lily, and he did not look toward the wrinkled gold star page she held against her little chest. He only let his cough return, soft and tired, while the doctor closed the chart with the satisfaction of a man who believed he had been handed proof. "Enough excitement," Celeste murmured. "He needs rest." This time Vincent nodded. "Rest?" he repeated, and everyone in the room heard weakness except the one man waiting behind the security glass downstairs. Within 12 minutes, the consigliera had a photographed copy of Dr. Vale's note, a time-stamped image of Lily's sticker page, and the key card log showing the doctor outside the kitchen at the exact minute he claimed he had been reviewing Vincent's vitals upstairs. The evidence did not shout. That was why Vincent trusted it. Lies often arrived dressed as concern. Proof arrived quietly, carrying the time. By late afternoon, the mansion had shifted into a different kind of silence. Emily and Lily were sent back to the kitchen corridor under Mrs. Pike's order, but 2 Moretti guards now stood near the service stairs, pretending to discuss rain damage on the roof while watching every doorway. Lily sat on a low wooden stool near the pantry, her shoes not touching the floor, the blue soup bowl washed and drying beside her. She opened her purple notebook to smooth the gold star page, but her small fingers stopped. The page with the most rabbit stickers was gone. Not torn messily, removed with a careful adult pull along the seam. For a moment, Lily only stared at the place where the paper should have been. Then she slid off the stool and walked straight to the cabinet where Emily kept clean dish towels. "Baby, what are you doing?" Emily whispered. Lily reached behind the cabinet leg and peeled something from the wood. One small rabbit sticker, wrinkled, dusty at the edge, but still white. "I put one there," she said, "because Bunny Day had too many bunnies and I wanted the cabinet to have one too." Emily took it gently. Behind the sticker, Lily had pressed a torn corner of the missing page, stuck there by accident when her fingers were sticky with soup. It showed 3 marks in Lily's uneven little system. Rabbit, paper, big cough. Emily's breath caught. It was nothing a court would call complete. It was everything a mother would understand. Upstairs, Vincent sat alone with the copy chart in his lap. His father's gold watch ticked beside the Moretti signet ring, both removed and placed on the blanket like 2 witnesses from another life. The consigliera stood at the foot of the bed. "We can confront Vale now," he said. "No," Vincent answered. "We preserve it. The chart. Everything. Photograph the page. Bag the torn corner. Pull the camera from the kitchen, pantry, and East Hall. Chain of custody from this minute forward. No one touches that notebook without gloves." The consigliere gave a slow nod. "And the child?" Vincent looked toward the closed door, where he could faintly hear Lily asking Emily if torn paper could still tell the truth. His face did not soften, but something behind his eyes went still. "The child is not evidence," he said. "The child is protected." Downstairs, Mrs. Pike entered the kitchen with a folded linen basket balanced on one hip. She smiled at Emily as if nothing in the world had changed. "Mr. Moretti will not require kitchen food tonight," she said, "and I will take that notebook. Personal records concerning this house are not permitted." Lily stepped behind her mother, but she did not hand it over. She tucked the notebook under Emily's apron string with both hands and shook her head once. "It's not house records," she said. "It's soup." Mrs. Pike's smile held, but her eyes did not. At that exact moment, Vincent's secure tablet lit with the full scan of Dr. Vale's afternoon update. Beneath the line about memory inconsistency was a recommendation written in calm medical language. Temporary transfer of decision authority to fiancé for patient stability. Vincent read it once, then again. He did not move for a long time, because the woman who had kissed his forehead that morning had already been typed into his future as the person who would own his voice when the room decided he no longer had one. The sentence did not accuse Celeste of anything. That was what made it worse. It sat in the report like medicine, clean and professional, pretending to help while it prepared to take Vincent Moretti out of his own life. Temporary transfer of decision authority to fiancé for patient stability. Vincent read the words until they stopped looking like words and became a door closing from the outside. Rain slid down the sickroom windows. The brass lamp beside the bed made a soft electric hum. Somewhere beneath the floor, in the service level, an industrial washer turned sheets in slow, heavy circles. The house sounded normal. That was how betrayal survived in rich rooms. It learned to sound like routine. Vincent lifted one finger, and the consigliera stepped closer. "Dr. Vale's license," Vincent said. "Verify it through the state board, not through the number he gave us. Pull every invoice connected to him. Every car entry. Every outside facility." Quietly, the consigliera nodded. "And Celeste." Vincent looked at the folded silk handkerchief still lying near the pillow. "Let her keep thinking I am tired." Downstairs, Emily had locked herself and Lily in the small laundry office beside the dryers. Not because a lock would stop anyone in the Moretti mansion, but because turning the latch gave her hands something to do. A little television on the shelf played a cooking show with the sound almost off. Lily sat on a folded stack of towels, holding her purple notebook beneath her sweater. "Are we in trouble?" she asked. Emily knelt in front of her. "No, baby." The answer came too fast. Lily knew fast answers were sometimes wishes. "I don't want Mr. Vincent's money," she said. "I just don't want them to say you did a bad thing." Emily closed her eyes for a second, and when she opened them, they were wet but steady. "Then we tell the truth if someone asks. Even if Mrs. Pike says kitchen people don't?" Emily touched the crooked rabbit clip in Lily's hair. "Especially then." Outside the laundry office, wheels squeaked. Mrs. Pike's linen cart rolled past the frosted glass panel, stopped, then rolled again. A white towel slipped from the top and fell near the door. Lily saw it before Emily did. She slid down from the towels, opened the door only a crack, and picked it up with both hands. Something papery and plastic fell from inside the fold and landed on the floor by her shoe. Lily bent down. It was a hospital bracelet, the kind children got in pretend doctor kits, except this one was printed with black letters. Vincent M. Admission time, 9:40 p.m. Lily carried it to Emily. "Mommy, Mr. Vincent already has a bracelet for the hospital." Emily stared at it, and the laundry room seemed to lose all its air. Upstairs, the same image arrived on Vincent's secure tablet 30 seconds later, photographed by the guard outside the service stairs before Emily touched it again. Beside the photo came another file from the consigliera, an invoice from a private recovery wing outside the city, reserved under Vincent's initials for the following night, 30 minutes after the scheduled signing. The facility was not a hospital he knew, not one the Morettis used, not one his real physician had ever mentioned. Vincent's thumb rested on the edge of the tablet. He did not curse. He did not shout for guards. He asked for the next document. It came in cold pieces. Celeste's assistant requesting discreet transport, Dr. Vale listed as medical coordinator, Mrs. Pike approving household access after hours, and a service note saying patient may resist transfer due to confusion. Patient may resist. Vincent looked toward the painting of the Madonna across the room, toward the hidden safe behind it, toward the door where Lily had stood with soup because she believed coughs deserved kindness. For 6 days, he had watched Celeste perform devotion and believed he was the one testing the room. But Lily had not been testing anyone. Emily had not been scheming. The only honest record in the mansion had been kept in stickers, soup stains, and bread squares by a child no one thought important enough to fear. Vincent closed the tablet and finally understood the ugliest part. He had pretended to be weak to expose false loyalty, and while he was pretending, he had left the 2 weakest people in the house standing closest to the knife meant for him. Vincent did not allow guilt to move faster than judgment. A younger man might have torn the mansion apart that night, dragged Celeste from her room, demanded names, demanded confessions, demanded blood for the insult of being handled like an old man with no mind left. Vincent Moretti only turned his father's gold watch face down on the blanket and said, "Tomorrow, they get what they came for." The consigliere understood. By 7 o'clock, the private sickroom looked exactly the way Celeste needed it to look. Dim lamps, water glass untouched, medical chart on the stand, a cream-colored contract folder placed upside down near Vincent's left hand. By 7:10, Vincent had sent word through Mrs. Pike that he was tired of fighting everyone and would sign the temporary transfer in the morning, provided the house stayed calm until then. The message traveled through the mansion like perfume through a closed room. Mrs. Pike repeated it to Dr. Vale in the service hall. Dr. Vale repeated it into his phone outside the pantry. Celeste heard it last, and for the first time all day she forgot to sound sad. Downstairs, Emily and Lily were moved to the small staff sitting room beside the laundry. Not punished openly, not freed either. 2 guards stood outside pretending to read maintenance forms. Lily sat at a little round table with her soup notebook in front of her, a crayon in one hand. She had not asked for money, candy, or a bigger room. She had only asked if her mother had to say sorry for something she did not do. Emily had answered no, but her voice still shook. Vincent's order came through the guard a few minutes later. Lily was not to go near the sick room tomorrow. Emily was to stay with her. No one would question the child. No one would touch the notebook. Lily looked at the guard and then at her mother. But who gives him soup if his cough comes? The guard had no answer for that. Upstairs, Vincent asked for one small test. Not a dramatic one. Not a trap with shouting men at the doors. He told the consigliere to leave a blank version of the transfer folder on the bedside table, stamped with a harmless internal seal instead of the legal one, and to place a working camera behind the brass lamp where Mrs. Pike always turned the shade slightly away. Then he asked for Celeste. She came in wearing pearl earrings and the same white rose perfume, her silk handkerchief folded in her hand like a flag of surrender. "I hear you're willing to be reasonable," she whispered. Vincent let his eyelids hang heavy. "I want one thing first. Anything. No child near this room tomorrow." Celeste's face softened too quickly. "Of course. And Emily?" Celeste paused. Only half a beat, but Vincent saw it. She should be kept away too. For everyone's comfort. Everyone's. Celeste touched his wrist. "Yours, my love." On the bedside table, her phone buzzed once. She did not look at it. The screen lit anyway, reflected faintly in the water glass Vincent had not touched. From his angle, he could not read the full message, only the first words. "Make sure the maid's child is not near." His breathing stayed slow. His hands stayed limp. Across the room, the camera light behind the brass lamp blinked once, small as an insect. In the laundry sitting room, Lily heard the old kitchen clock through the vent, 2 soft chimes before the hour. She lifted her head. "Mommy," she said. "Mrs. Pike always comes after 2 bells when she wants the white aprons." Emily frowned. "What?" Lily pointed to the door. 2 bells. Then keys. 5 seconds later, keys touched metal in the hall. Emily stood just as Mrs. Pike entered with a folded stack of fresh aprons. "For tomorrow," the housekeeper said. "Mr. Moretti wants the staff presentable." Her voice was calm, but her hand slipped too neatly into the pocket of Emily's apron before laying it on the chair. Lily watched the pocket sag. Not much, just enough. Mrs. Pike left without looking at the notebook, which told Emily she had come for something else. The guard waited until the hallway cleared, then lifted the apron with gloved hands. Inside the pocket was a small brown medicine vial Emily had never seen before. Upstairs, Vincent's secure tablet received 2 things at once. The camera still of Mrs. Pike planting the vial, and the full text from Celeste's phone, captured in the water glass reflection and enhanced by the consigliere's team. "Make sure the maid's child is not near the room tomorrow. He listens when she speaks." Vincent looked at the words for a long time. Then he looked at the blue soup bowl waiting on the service cart outside his door, marked with Lily's wrinkled gold star, and understood that the trap had finally begun to close around the people who thought the child was alone. The wrinkled gold star on the blue soup bowl was still visible when morning entered the sick room. It clung to the chipped ceramic like something too small to survive rich hands. Yet there it was, bright and stubborn on the service cart beside the door. Vincent Moretti looked at it before he looked at Celeste, before he looked at Dr. Vale, before he looked at the cream-colored folder waiting on the bedside table. The room had been arranged for surrender. The brass lamp glowed low. The gray wool blanket covered his legs. A glass of water sat untouched near his left hand. The lawyer stood near the wall with a pen ready. Mrs. Pike waited by the door with Emily's folded white apron in her hands, the pockets sagging slightly from the vial she had planted the night before. Celeste wore pearl earrings and the expression of a woman prepared to grieve publicly for a man not yet gone. "Vincent," she said softly, "we should make this as easy as possible." Dr. Vale opened the chart. "For the record, Mr. Moretti has shown confusion regarding meals, visitors, and household events. I recommend temporary transfer of decision authority." Vincent coughed once. It sounded weak enough to satisfy them. "And the maid?" he asked. Mrs. Pike stepped forward at once. "Unfortunately, sir, we found something troubling." She unfolded Emily's apron on the small table. The brown medicine vial rolled from the pocket and stopped against the silver edge of the tray. Emily stood in the hall with Lily beside her, guarded but not restrained, her face drained of color. Celeste lowered her eyes as if the accusation hurt her. "I did not want to believe it," she whispered. Lily's hand found her mother's skirt. She did not understand every word, but she understood that adults were putting a bad thing where her mother's hands had been. Vincent looked at the vial, then at the pen, then at the blue soup bowl. "Bring the child's notebook," he said. The room tightened. Celeste blinked once. Mrs. Pike said, "Sir, that is hardly appropriate." Vincent's voice stayed quiet. "Neither is framing a woman in my house." No one moved. Then the consigliere entered with gloved hands, carrying Lily's purple notebook inside a clear evidence sleeve. Behind him came a second lawyer, 2 security men, and a tablet already connected to the hidden camera feeds. Lily did not step into the center of the room. Vincent did not ask her to. He only nodded toward the cart. Emily lifted the blue bowl and placed it carefully on the bedside table, beside the contract folder. Lily reached up and set the notebook next to it, then backed against her mother again. That was all she did. It was enough. Vincent opened the folder, but instead of signing, he turned the first page toward the room. "Doctor," he said, "read your own note." Dr. Vale adjusted his cuff. "Patient recalls 6 spoonfuls yesterday, suggesting memory inconsistency." Vincent nodded. The consigliere tapped the tablet. On the screen appeared Lily's wrinkled gold star page, photographed before anyone could touch it. 2 bread squares, 1 gold star, 1 rabbit sticker, 1 line of crooked letters. 2 spoons. Big cough when papers came. The lawyer shifted his weight. Dr. Vale said, "A child's drawing is not medical documentation." "No," Vincent said, "but my test was." Another tap. Audio from the sickroom played, Vincent asking the false question. Celeste confirming 6 spoonfuls. Dr. Vale writing it down. Then came the key card log, placing Dr. Vale outside the kitchen when he claimed he was upstairs. Then camera footage of Mrs. Pike carrying Lily's notebook to Celeste's room. Then the torn page corner found behind the cabinet. Mrs. Pike's lips pressed together until the blood left them. Celeste reached for Vincent's hand, but he moved it away before her fingers touched the signet ring. The room grew colder. The consigliere opened the next file. The private recovery wing invoice, the false hospital bracelet marked Vincent M., admission time 9:40 p.m., and the message reflected in the water glass. "Make sure the maid's child is not near the room tomorrow. He listens when she speaks." Vincent read that line on the screen in front of everyone. For a moment he could not speak. Not because Celeste had betrayed him. Betrayal was an old language to him. What made his face go pale was the final clip. Lily outside the closed sickroom door after being banned, setting the soup bowl down with both hands, whispering, "He can have it if nobody is looking," then walking away without asking for anything. Vincent stared at the child on the screen, at the tiny body disappearing down the service hall, and saw what he had allowed under his own roof. Celeste broke the silence first. "She was coached," she said, too quickly. Lily lifted her chin. Her voice was small, but it cut through the room. "Mommy told me not to lie." Vincent closed the contract folder. He placed the medicine vial on top of it, then the hospital bracelet, then Lily's notebook, then the blue bowl with the wrinkled star facing Celeste. His hand was steady now. "You built a case against my mind," he said. "A 4-year-old kept a better record of my life." He looked at the lawyer by the wall, his voice almost gentle. "Void every signature. Prepared this week. Preserve every file. And call my attorney." The lawyer did not reach for the phone at first. He looked at Vincent, then at the contract folder, then at the blue soup bowl sitting on top of it like a small, chipped verdict. "Now," Vincent said. No one mistook the quiet for weakness anymore. The room began to move in controlled pieces. The second lawyer photographed the medicine vial where Vincent had placed it. The consigliera sealed Lily's purple notebook in a clear evidence bag, not because it belonged to the house, but because what the child had written had finally been treated as truth. The false hospital bracelet went into a separate envelope. The recovery wing invoice, Dr. Vale's chart, the keycard log, the waterglass text reflection, the camera clip of Mrs. Pike planting the vial, and the prepared transfer papers were each marked, copied, and locked into a chain of custody before Celeste could turn her grief into another performance. She tried once. "Vincent, please. You are not well. They are frightening you." Vincent looked at her as if she had spoken from a great distance. "No," he said. "They are documenting you." That was when Celeste's face changed. Not into guilt, into calculation. Dr. Vale demanded to speak with his attorney, and Vincent nodded. "You will." Mrs. Pike stood rigid by the door, her hands folded so tightly the knuckles looked waxy. The household staff had gathered in the hallway by then, drawn by the silence more than sound. They saw Emily Carter standing beside her daughter with her apron still in Mrs. Pike's hands, saw the brown vial no longer hidden in its pocket, saw the woman who had ruled the service corridors suddenly unable to meet the eyes of the people she had ordered around for years. Vincent turned to the first lawyer. "Cancel every authority document prepared this week. Freeze Celeste Romano's access to Moretti accounts, properties, medical decisions, and foundation funds. Notify the Family Council and the operating boards before noon. Send Dr. Vale's materials to the State Medical Board and the District Attorney. Send the Recovery Wing invoice to our outside counsel. And Mrs. Pike is removed from this house with a written record of cause." Mrs. Pike inhaled sharply. "Sir, I served your family for 22 years. Vincent's gaze moved to Emily. "And used service as a weapon." The words did not land loudly. They landed permanently. Celeste was escorted out by security, still dressed like a woman on her way to a charity photograph. Dr. Vale left with his leather case, but not with his chart. Mrs. Pike was allowed to collect her personal things under supervision, and for the first time, she walked the service corridor without anyone stepping aside for her. Only after the door closed behind them did Vincent ask the staff to remain. He sat upright without pretending to cough, the gray blanket folded at his waist, his signet ring back on his finger. Emily kept her eyes low out of habit. Vincent noticed. He hated that he noticed it so late. "Emily Carter," he said, and the room held its breath. "You did not poison me. You did not send your child to manipulate me. You fed me when everyone else was feeding on me." Emily's hand rose to her mouth, but she made herself stand straight. Vincent continued, this time for every cook, guard, maid, driver, and clerk in the hallway. Her wages would be restored with back pay for every shift Mrs. Pike had cut. Her file would be corrected in writing. Her housing in the staff wing would be secured by contract, not by the mood of a housekeeper. A new employee protection line would report to outside counsel, not household management. Medical staff would require independent verification. Cameras could no longer be erased by one office. And Lily Carter would not be photographed, interviewed, paraded, or turned into a story the Moretti name could polish and sell. Her education fund would be placed under Emily's control with legal oversight, clear paperwork, and no demand for silence. Lily did not understand all of it. She only understood that her mother's shoulders looked different, like something heavy had been lifted from them and set where everyone could see it. Vincent held out the blue bowl. "May I?" Emily nodded. Lily stepped forward just enough to place the spoon in his hand. The soup was no longer hot, but Vincent ate one. Careful spoonful anyway. No cough followed. No performance. Lily opened her notebook after the consigliera photographed the last page and handed it back to her in a clean sleeve. She pressed one final gold star onto the paper and whispered, "That means you ate." Vincent looked at the crooked star, then at the child who had never asked him for anything except to believe what she saw. "Does soup fix coughs?" she asked. Vincent was quiet for a long moment. Then he looked around the room he had once ruled by fear, now corrected by a child's record of kindness. "Sometimes," he said, "it fixes what power refused to hear."